Afternoon and welcome to Salford Foundation's Building Better Futures Together event. My name is Yasmin Mohammed.
And I am Thomas Candlish. We both grew up locally and we're working at Salford Foundation as a part of the government's Kickstart programme. I grew up in Eccles and Yasmin grew up in Hume. We both come from two different backgrounds, however both feel inspired to positively impact our community. Kickstart has given us the opportunity to do just that.
What appealed to me was how diverse the role was as a youth social action assistant. I had never come across this before and was eager to explore ways to impact and create positive change with the young people of Salford and its community, as well as learning how a charity works in the background and also as a frontline. I hope to pursue a future career within the youth justice sector and believe this opportunity will be a great step in the right direction for me.
For me, Kickstart and Salford Foundation has given me the opportunity to explore a line of work and social impact which is very close to my heart. Growing up, I witnessed members of my family and in a community go into their jobs in which they positively impacted a community. An example of this is my mum, who specialises in the support of clients with learning difficulties and helping them to live a prosperous life and have equal opportunities. She has worked in this sector for over 25 years, showing how rewarding she feels this role is to her and others. This gave me the inspiration to want to do something similar for other people. Salford Foundation has allowed me to do that.
We are really pleased to be hosting this event and guiding you through our programme.
In the next hour or so, we're going to hear a couple of speeches and showcase 3 of our projects and hear from some of our beneficiaries.
We are also going to hear from our stakeholders about why they are working with us to build better futures and explore what you can do to help too.
Before we get into all of that, let's cover a couple of our housekeeping issues. The hashtag for our event is #BetterFutures. We invite you to use this hashtag and comment on what you are hearing on social media. We will also be using Slido this afternoon to encourage some interaction. If not already, use the instructions on screen to help set it up. We will be starting today with a fun poll using Slido to ease us into the session. We have all got used to doing meetings and events online since the start of lockdown. Maybe you love it or maybe you hate it. However, what do you think is the most irritating online meeting phrase? You're on mute. Sorry, my internet connection is unstable. Is that a legacy hand? Next slide, please. And can everybody see my screen? Click on the polls and vote now.
We would now like to invite our keynote speaker to the stream. Paul Dennett is the elected City Mayor of Salford. Paul was born in Warrington and brought up by a working class family.
It was this background which has had a huge impact on his politics. Where money was tight and the stress of debt was always in the background, families helped each other, and he developed a lifelong appreciation for the public sector and its partners.
As a teenager, he helped his parents pub changing barrels, lugging crates and talking to the regulars. After that, he worked in customer services at a BT call centre. He completed his degree and then lectured in business at Manchester Metropolitan Business School. His interests include cooking, travelling to the art galleries of Salford and Manchester, and travelling when possible.
Paul became the second directly elected city mayor in 2016. Since then, he's been pretty busy leading the city. We're delighted that Paul's made the time to be with us this afternoon. Paul, over to you.
Thank you very much, Thomas and Yasmin. And yeah, it's it's quite touching hearing people talk about yourself in many respects. Today isn't about me though. Today is about the great city of Salford. So first of all, thanks to Salford's Foundation for inviting me here today at what is the launch of your renewed and refreshed strategy launch. It's a real pleasure to be talking about, obviously, the exciting work taking place in Salford aimed at transforming the city local economy over the coming years to create a more inclusive, fairer, greener and healthier city for all. Salford Foundation, as many of you know, has been helping young people and adults across Salford for 30 years or more, whether that's improving their health and well-being, developing skills, providing employment support, or improving their financial resilience. The work of your charity is vital in providing opportunities for local people to reach their full potential, and will continue to play a crucial role as we seek to rebuild following the COVID-19 pandemic. The past 12 months have been like no other, really, in certainly my memory. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a profound and lasting impact on everyone across the world. It is a public health, economic and social crisis that has required everyone, whether they be working in the public sector, private sector, voluntary community or social enterprise sectors of our society and economy, to come together and ultimately support each other in what has been a time of great need. I'm incredibly proud and humbled at the way the city of Salford has responded. But as we remember the terrible toll that the pandemic has had on families, communities and loved ones, it's also time to look to the future as Salford begins its own journey to rebuild its local economy in a way that seeks to tackle the social, economic and health inequalities that have been so exposed by the COVID-19 pandemic. When I was first elected as the city mayor in Salford in 2016, I set out a policy platform to create a better and fairer Salford based around 8 key priorities that we call the Great 8. This has set the framework over the last 5 years in which Salford has pursued what I would term a radical policy agenda in local government, one that I've termed sensible socialism, or the Salford way. Some of you may have heard about the Preston model, which is fairly well known and obviously has been in the press and the media more recently. And just a few miles down the road, my friend and colleague Matt Brown, who's leader of Preston City Council, has pursued an innovative local government agenda to revitalise the city's ailing local economy. However, Salford's own economic miracle is less well documented, though in my opinion, it's no less significant. As a city built on mines, mills, factories and docks, we have suffered greatly from deindustrialisation since the 1980s. But in recent years, Salford has been on a remarkable journey to emerge as a modern global city, attracting record levels of public-private sector investment, which alongside Manchester has been central to driving economic growth in the wider Greater Manchester economy. As a City Council, we've invested millions of pounds into our local economy and infrastructure over the past decade, the best known of which laid the foundations for Media City UK, now home to the country's second largest hub for digital media and creative enterprises outside of the City of London. Around 250 businesses operate in and around Media City, employing around 7,000 people. More people are employed now at Media City than when that was the docks. And phase 2 of Media City expansion is already underway, promising to double in size the current development, delivering thousands more jobs and opportunities in the city. Since 2010, we've also invested around 127 million into our green spaces, green infrastructure, providing many miles of cycle paths and walking routes, as well as delivering the second flood basin following the 2015 Boxing Day floods, which, as we know, did devastate people's homes, communities and businesses in the city. In addition to that, we've renovated disused wastelands to create new parks and areas of stunning nature. All of this has been hugely beneficial during the COVID-19 pandemic. Recently, we've seen the opening of the Royal Horticultural Society's 5th National Garden, RHS Bridgewater, which has added ultimately to the growing list of green spaces in our great city, supporting the city's tourism offer and marking out Salford as a go-to destination for lovers of gardens, horticulture, nature, and creating a special place in our city for Salford's residents. Also, with the support and stewardship from the local council, our arts and cultural sector is also experiencing growth. And this is despite the horrendous constraints placed upon them by the impact of COVID-19, and at a time when the arts and cultural sector nationally is significantly struggling. Recently, the council has announced a multi-million-pound project in collaboration with renowned art venue Islington Mill to expand and renovate the footprint of the mill's existing site under new management arrangements, which puts the welfare of tenants and artists in residence very much at the heart of the building's ownership. For me, art, culture and creativity isn't just about something we consume in fancy, glitzy buildings. It's actually about the people who work in that sector and the people in our city who are very much part of that ecology. There is also a significant number of projects underway that are planned in terms of how we continue to move forward around creating new employment, training opportunities, and also the industries of the future. And this includes our plans for the Crescent that sit within the highly significant Salford Innovation Triangle, comprising Media City UK, Salford Royal Hospital, the University of Salford, which will provide opportunities to further build on frontier sectors in digital and health innovation. And to the west of the city is Port Salford, on the banks of the Manchester Ship Canal, a trimodal port facility for freight distribution, making it a really significant place within the Greater Manchester City regional economy, linking water with rail and road, and hopefully improving our carbon footprint. Bringing more of our HGVs off roads, on water and rail is very much what we're trying to achieve there. The results of all of this has been a local economy in Salford, which in some respects defies all expectation, providing well above average rates of economic growth compared to other areas of the country, rebuilding our city's industrial heritage for a clean energy and high-tech digital future. In the last 5 years, Salford has gained 22,000 new jobs, and prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, our economic modelling was suggesting we'd see further growth of 40,000 jobs up until 2040. So while it's clear that this investment and impressive growth has brought significant improvements to the city, it's so equally clear that people, there are simply not the benefits being accrued in parts of the city we would like to see. The fact remains that significant economic and health inequalities continue to exist across the city, which has been starkly exposed by the pandemic. Even before COVID-19, Salford was the 18th most deprived area in England, with more than 30% of Salford's population, around 76,400, living in an area classed as highly deprived, and levels of child poverty higher than the national average. Frustratingly, some of the worst areas of deprivation in the city are also located next to the areas that have seen some of the highest levels of growth in recent years. While life expectancy has been improving in the last few decades, the rate of improvement has started to slow down. There remains a gap of around 3 years for males and 2 years for females between Salford and the rest of England. And within Salford, residents living in the most affluent areas can expect to live for 11.2 years longer for males and 7.2 years longer for females, compared with those in the most deprived areas of the city. This is why building a truly more inclusive and greener local economy is absolutely critical in addressing the historic and structural inequalities that we face today. Now more than ever, Salford needs to take a leading and proactive role in shaping a new type of participative local economy focused on improving the overall health and well-being of our people. An economy where wealth and opportunity are more evenly distributed across our communities. An economy that more effectively tackles the climate emergency by delivering green jobs and industries of the future. And an economy that values the unique strengths of local businesses, small businesses, and the city's vibrant community, voluntary and social enterprise sector, which plays such a vital role in supporting local people and communities. And an economy also that ensures local public services are strengthened, delivering gold standards in employment conditions and placing control directly into the hands of local people. This is why we recently launched our new inclusive economy strategy and tackling poverty strategy as part of what we call the Salford Way. It's an approach that sets out our bold ambitions for the future of our great city. The inclusive economy strategy is particularly important because it really is a turning point in our approach to sustainable economic development in Salford. It's a bold 5-point plan based upon building local community wealth. We also have lofty ambitions to significantly grow our local social economy. We're stepping up our plans to accelerate transition to a zero carbon economy. And we also want to strengthen our core public services. And then finally, the 5th point is we want to strengthen our local democracy. It's focusing on opening up opportunities for greater citizen participation in our economy, in our public spaces, and in our institutions. Whether this is through greater co-production or participative budgeting, we want to rethink our approach to local decision making as part of a new democratic relationship with residents. Of course, Salford is already doing great things to deliver on these ambitions. For example, we were the first council in Greater Manchester to pay the real living wage. Then a year ago, Salford became the first place in England to be recognised for its ambitions to become a living wage city. And our plan is to double the number of people working for an accredited living wage employer from 10,000 to 20,000 over the next 3 years. Reduce the number of people earning less than the real living wage from 16.5% to 14.5%, the best rate in Greater Manchester. We've boosted the pay of over 3,000 care workers in the city, taking them closer to the real living wage. We've improved the digital skills of up to 8,000 of our most disadvantaged residents as part of our award-winning Digital Salford initiative. And last December, it was my privilege to announce the next stage of Salford Council House building scheme. Through the council intends to build 3,000 more homes over the coming years. The announcement was the culmination in respects of over 4 years worth of work on our council-owned development company, Derive, which was established since my election in 2016. With these strategies, we reinforce our commitment to ensuring everyone in Salford has an opportunity to participate and fulfil their potential. Salford has a long and proud history of cooperation and pioneering progressive change, and I strongly believe that by working together in this way with Salford Foundation and many other organisations across our great city, we can truly create a better and fairer Salford for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. That was great. We are now going to hand over to Phil East, Chief Executive of Salford Foundation. Phil will now tell us how we are going to be helping people to build better futures over the next 3 years as we build back better from the pandemic.
Thanks, Yasmin. Today, as Yasmin has said, we launch our refreshed and renewed strategy. And we do that in the context of over 30 years of experience and expertise in developing ways of helping people. But it's also done in a context of profound change. As Paul said, the pandemic has created some fundamental shifts that we need to respond to. I'm conscious today that some of you joining us know us well, others perhaps less so. But today I'd like to just restate who we are, what we do, why we do it, and what's next. As we've developed our strategy, we've used the analogy of building a house. And in building a house, you need to make sure you've got firm foundations to build upon. And our vision and our mission very much for us at the foundation are that foundation. We want to create a fair society in which everyone has the opportunity and resources to reach their full potential. And all the opportunities that we provide are aimed at helping people to reach their potential and to build better futures. And as we recover and build back from the pandemic, we're determined to use all of our assets, our finance, our people, our buildings, flexibly and creatively and collaboratively to fulfil our mission. And even and especially in a period of uncertainty and economic challenges, we don't want to hunker down and just stay as we are. We're determined to go deeper and further to enable people to thrive and to flourish. So that leads us naturally to what we do. And whilst our work varies and we will remain agile to meet changing needs, we've got 4 broad areas of operation which we see as our superstructure. Child and youth development, projects that promote young people's personal, social and vocational development. This includes educational progression, careers education, aspirations and work readiness. And it also includes life readiness and the broader set of skills for life which are really important but which young people don't always learn through education. Secondly, targeted youth support. We provide intensive support to young people facing significant additional challenges caused through issues such as exclusion, violence, exploitation and family conflict. Thirdly, our women's services, projects which help women experiencing complex and multiple challenges to progress and change. And this includes our long-established work with female offenders and with survivors of domestic abuse. And fourthly, targeted adult support. We provide intensive support to adults facing substantial barriers to their full participation in society due to issues such as offending, worklessness, poverty and health challenges. Now you may well say that's quite a broad array of issues, projects, themes that we're working on. And so it's important that there is some connectivity, that we make sure those things join up and cohere. And for us, in our analogy of a building, that's like our roof under which all of those things exist. For us at the Foundation, it's not just what we do, but it's how we do it and why we do it that makes us Salford Foundation. Fundamentally, we are a values-driven organisation. Our core values run through everything we do, like the word Blackpool does through a stick of rock. And we are constantly committed to having discussions about our values and challenging ourselves to make sure everything we do and how we do it is in line with our values. We're also passionate about full social inclusion. We have a special commitment to and expertise in reaching and supporting the most disadvantaged people in our communities. We're particularly adept at helping people who feel they've been let down by services previously. We build trust and hope so that they can engage positively and build a better future. And when we run programmes which are open to everyone, we're determined to go the extra mile to overcome any obstacles that might otherwise unintentionally exclude people. We're also determined to focus on the whole person. We don't believe that social inclusion will be achieved by approaching people as if they have a series of problems that need to be fixed. We strive to help people holistically, building on their strengths and abilities. And as we deliver a wide range of projects and services, we seek to look at the whole person and the whole family, because we believe that makes positive change more empowering and more sustainable. We also recognise that the roots of social exclusion lie in the structures of society and deep-rooted power imbalances. And so we seek to work for change in whole communities and society, not just with individuals. And lastly, and very importantly, we believe that people change people. Not systems, not processes, not projects, but people. And therefore, in order to help people change, we need a richly diverse and representative team. And this includes our paid staff team and trustees who've been appointed because they are passionate, driven and deeply caring. And for us, that is as important as the skills and experience they bring. Our volunteers are an integral part of our team, and we believe that our partners in the private sector have a particularly important role to play, instilling inspiration, aspiration, and innovation. Involving people fully in creating their own futures is integral to how we work. And so people who are experts by experience, people who can act as peer champions and helpers, are integral to our team. And we're committed to their full involvement throughout our charity and in decision making at all levels. And that leads me on to consider the next 3 years. We know that the next 3 years will be especially tough. As a society and communities, we need to come through the pandemic and emerge to rebuild socially, economically, and culturally. We recognise that the people we are here to help will feel the longer term effects of the pandemic more profoundly than many others. And we also recognise that the charitable sector will be under unprecedented pressures, with rising levels of need and serious constraints on finances. And in this context, we're determined to take bold steps to do some things differently and to establish some new priorities. And within that, 3 things we particularly want to focus on today. We want to focus on supporting young people with the implications and the impacts of COVID. I still don't think we quite yet know exactly how young people have been affected by the pandemic or which groups will be hit the hardest. However, we do know that their education has been seriously disrupted. For many, their mental health has deteriorated and they've become withdrawn and perhaps lost hope. More are likely to have been exploited and abused in a variety of ways, whilst they've been less visible to helping agencies. We're committed to learning the lessons of COVID and supporting our young people to emerge from the pandemic and to thrive. Secondly, a focus on domestic abuse. We've been dealing with the implications of domestic abuse in our women's services for many years, and more recently through our targeted youth support work. We've seen prevalence, need, and demand for support increase during the pandemic. And so we will redouble our efforts to support people affected by domestic abuse, primarily through our Indigo and Rise projects, which you'll hear a little bit more about shortly. And thirdly, a focus on helping men through the shed. For many years, we've supported women experiencing multiple and complex challenges. And more recently, this has led us to realise that there is a similar group of men facing a similar range of interconnected challenges. Often this includes experience of the criminal justice system, worklessness, and mental health challenges. And so we will develop and deliver the shed as a holistic response to the needs of these men. And in our regular priorities and our additional thematic areas of focus, we're determined that we will use our own assets as enablers. We're determined that we won't simply be guided by the priorities of funders, but we will use our own assets proactively and astutely in a way that we never have before. And secondly, we're going to have what I call a critical approach to innovation. Society has changed irrevocably during the pandemic, and we all accept that we are moving towards new normals. The type and range of needs in our communities will change, and similarly the responses required to help people will also need to change. We're committed to a deep learning culture in which we're comfortable pivoting, innovating and developing new services. We're confident in our ability to act as a social entrepreneur. We will take risks, we will try new approaches, we will fail, but we will improve and we will succeed. However, at the same time, we're not obsessed with prototypes. We also have some fantastic finished products, services which meet people's needs fantastically well. And we will keep doing those things, again, even if they fall out of favour with funders for a period of time. And finally, resources and networks, which again, continuing the analogy of building the house, are the bricks and mortar that really drive the change that we create and ensure that it all coheres and sticks together. We recognise that we can't achieve great things with and for people without a core that is fit for purpose and well tuned. And so we will transform the physical environments in which we work by building a new women's centre in Eccles and reconfiguring Foundation House as a new shared space for beneficiaries and staff. We'll diversify and grow our income streams. We'll be ambitious in the use of our business development and fundraising capacity. That's not because we think a bigger charity is a better charity or a flag of success. It's simply because we want to grow in order to help more people. We'll continue our work to improve our systems and processes so that we are as efficient and effective as possible. And in particular, that will include full implementation of our digital strategy. We'll continue to improve how we tell our story to our partners and our supporters so that you know the impact and change that we're making and so that it is visible to you and you can join in our celebrations. And finally, we'll develop partnerships. We'll continue to invest time and energy in our relationships with the public sector. We're already seen as a key partner in complementing and enhancing what the public sector can achieve, and we want our offer to dovetail effectively and to enhance and add value to public services. We continue to benefit very significantly from support from the private sector, and we want to develop further relationships with partners who want to work with us both strategically and operationally. And we also value our relationships with other charities and voluntary organisations. And we'll position ourselves very intentionally as a collaborator, not a competitor. We'll build relationships, particularly with a small number of charities with whom we believe we are stronger together due to our complementarity, believing that we can create greater social good by working in closer partnerships. So today, we renew our commitment to the people of Salford and beyond in Greater Manchester and the North West, to enable them to build better futures for themselves and their families, and to play our part in building a better, fairer society in which everyone can thrive and reach their full potential. And so I ask you to come with us on this journey, to support, to collaborate, to be creative in your use of time, resources, finance and opportunities, because we will truly and fully help people to build better futures if we do it together. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. That was wonderful. We're now going to do another Slido. This Slido is going to be a word cloud. This Slido will be to judge how you think the event is going so far. We would like you to respond to what you've heard Phil just say about our Building Better Futures Together strategy. We are going to form a word cloud, so enter 3 words which best represent what you think. We're now going to have 3 showcases to help us understand what we're doing about 3 of those priorities Phil spoke about. Helping young people recover from the effects of COVID, helping people affected by domestic abuse, and supporting men through the shed.
First of all, we are going to introduce you to the project that we are both working on, helping young people recover from the effects of COVID, our Kickstart Social Action Project. Over to Jonathan and Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Jonathan, the Employability and Skills Manager here at Salford Foundation. We feel Kickstart is a great platform to give young people a good start in life. It helps to reconnect people that have been disconnected from everyday life due to the COVID pandemic. Setting a good example to employers, as well as giving young people a lead on their futures by allowing them a voice that will be heard. Salford Foundation believes it is important to lead by example and feels social action is a great way of promoting social mobility of young people. In terms of how we have developed the project, internally and externally, we have thought about what are the hot topics that young people might want to take action on. such as the Black Lives Matter movement, sexism and misogyny, or even the COVID pandemic and everything it has brought with it. We have done further research on these topics. Critically, we have spent a lot of time talking to groups of young people to get their views on recent topics, events, and other things they want to take action on. We have developed a list of hot topics that you can see on the screen now. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Caitlin, who will tell you about 4 of the issues we are currently working on.
So our first hot topic is sexual harassment, and this was sparked by the Sarah Everard case and the calls for change that followed, as well as similar news stories about young women being attacked by men and boys locally. This is very relevant to young people at the moment, as Ofsted has recently done an investigation into sexual harassment at schools and colleges, and they have found it to be a big issue at the majority of schools that they attended. The young people we've talked to about this issue have expressed that it's very important to them and they're very keen to make a difference. Our aim with this project is to work with young people to find ways that they can help to change the culture amongst their peers to tackle sexist language and behaviour. We think that young people are the best people to do this, as young people are mostly influenced by their peers, and so it's young people themselves who have the most power to make a change. We're already working with a group of high school pupils who are looking at ways that they can use creative media such as podcasts and documentaries to tackle this issue. Lockdown has meant that young people have become socially isolated from their friends and families. They've suffered a huge change in routine due to school closures, and many have been worried about school, the possibility of themselves or their families becoming ill, and their future job prospects. Research shows that the statistics for young people being hospitalised for mental health related issues in Salford, even before the pandemic, was well above the England average. Studies from previous pandemics have shown that children who have been in isolation for a long time were 5 times more likely to need mental health support in adulthood, so it's very important that this issue gets tackled now. We have identified 16 to 19-year-olds as being a key group affected by this issue, as this age group already experienced a lot of change. For example, leaving school and college, reaching adulthood and starting university and work. The pandemic has made an already challenging time in their lives even more difficult. The main idea with this project is to create open discussion about the topic amongst young people, as well as to equip them with the tools to be aware and take care of their own mental health. We are working with groups of young people, and we're hoping to develop a peer education project involving young people delivering lessons on mental well-being to their classmates using resources that they've created themselves. As young people become more independent, for example, they might start the first job at 16, start driving at 17, moving away for university at 18, they'll have to start managing their own money. Common challenges young people face are not knowing how to budget effectively, not understanding what financial terms mean, for example, that they might see on the pay slips or bank statements, and not understanding credit cards or loans and how to use these effectively. We hope to encourage conversations about money amongst young people and to enable them to devise tools such as planners to help them manage their own money. This will be led by the young people themselves to allow them to develop confidence in their money management skills and knowledge, and also so that they can figure out a system that works well for them and other young people. With the emergence of big youth supporters like Greta Thunberg, environmental issues such as climate change are becoming big talking points amongst young people. Isolation has also meant that young people have had to stay inside for long periods, so it's important that they now get back outside, as this can benefit their mental well-being. The aim for this project is to instil in young people a love and respect for the environment and nature. We're currently working with both primary school and a high school to get the pupils planting different types of plants, with some education around the benefits of what they're planting, since many young people may not understand the benefits that some plants have on our health. Activities around the environment and spending time outdoors also feature heavily in our plans for engagement with young people during their summer holidays. We're hoping to get primary school pupils working with high school pupils to teach them about nature in a peer education type project.
Thanks, Caitlin, that was great. If anybody would like to get in touch, then please email one of the email addresses that you can see on your screens now.
Thank you both very much for contributing to that. We're now going to switch our attention to domestic abuse and watch this film all about the work that our Indigo and Rise projects are doing. Indigo supports women who have experienced domestic abuse. Rise works with young people who have witnessed domestic abuse, and some of them are the children of women accessing Indigo. Siobhan and her son Bradley, who feature in this film, have given their informed consent to share their story with us this afternoon. Please do not in any way share any images or details of what they say on social media or with anyone else. We appreciate their honesty and bravery in talking to us this afternoon and ask you to show your respect for them through your discretion. Here's their story.
So our current programme for domestic abuse is called the Indigo programme, to work with women who have experienced domestic abuse, primarily emotional abuse, psychological abuse and coercive control. Indigo came about through 10 years of domestic abuse support that was delivered originally through TWP, which is a criminal justice programme for all women living in Salford who have received a probation order. So Siobhan was referred into TWP through probation. Her charge was for assault against her ex-partner. On induction, after speaking to Siobhan at length, I realised that she was indeed the victim, not the perpetrator, because the nature of the manipulation involved in abusive relationships, she had taken the blame for the assault in that relationship, as she had taken the blame for all the behaviour around emotional abuse and coercive control, whereas a partner had walked away scot-free because he had the control in that relationship. We worked with Siobhan over 2 years to help her understand what coercive control and emotional abuse was, to get to her to a point where she no longer seen herself as the perpetrator and no longer took blame.
I got referred from court to probation to you as a perpetrator, not recognising that I was the victim, because I remember the first time I walked in, sitting with you crying and walking away thinking, something's not right here. He's done all this, why is no one seeing what he's done, even though it was on paper what he'd done, the police call-outs were there, and near enough straight away I realised something wasn't right, I needed extra support. Other than TWP, there's not one service out there that believed me. I wasn't believed because I did drink. I didn't try and cover it up at any point. And obviously when he was meeting with social workers and I was meeting with social workers, he was saying things, knowing how to press my buttons, knowing full well that I would react to him. I learned that I wasn't the only one. I learned that manipulation started right at the very beginning, but I didn't even realise it. You know, just buying the expensive boots or taking me for an expensive meal. I very quickly learned that anyone can be a victim. It doesn't matter who you are, how strong you are. It's not our fault. It's not love, it's power, it's control. We're an object, not a human. And then I started getting stronger because I was understanding it more, and then I started finding my voice.
So RISE is a programme that we're currently operating all across Salford for young people between the ages of 10 and 14 who have experienced historic domestic abuse in the family home. We aim to offer our young people a space to be able to talk, to be able to be listened to and give them practical support to be able to manage various different things such as their emotions, their relationships, their future and their immediate environment. So Bradley came to us through referral from my colleague Janet on TWP. Siobhan had been supported by Janet on the programme, and it was felt that Bradley could use some extra help from us on RISE to be able to have a space for him to talk and be heard and to learn new ways of being able to manage how he's feeling. So Bradley, what has been your highlight working on RISE with me?
Probably when we did coping strategies. They've helped me a lot and I feel like I can use them. So
what is a coping strategy?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ocean breathing, Fothbot. Before I met you, I felt like my confidence was really low and I couldn't I couldn't meet new people. I was really nervous to meet them. I was scared doing things that I've never done before. I've learned how to control my anger, how to know when one of my friends is really a true friend, and I think that I'm going to use the most probably 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It helps me to just focus on stuff and to not get carried away by stuff that I feel upset by or that I don't like. After everything, I feel like I can be more confident and I can just be myself. I feel like I can go up on stage and speak to people. Yeah, I can just do stuff that I never thought I would ever be able to do in my whole life.
That was really powerful. Thank you. Our third project we want to share with you is The Shed. This short film will give you some idea of what is involved. Then our colleague Adrian is going to talk to one of the guys who is part of The Shed about his experience.
The Shed project focuses on men aged 18 plus who wish to move forward in their lives and reach their full potential.
The need for the shed exists because so many men who limit themselves based on past experiences. Also, they don't have support guiding them to work, to training. So we address those needs. And what's come up is there have been many instances of isolation. There have been people that are really lonely, people that have come out of prison and had no support whatsoever, and no direction in their lives after leaving the prison environment. And we look at the needs and respond to them.
A few members of our staff came to me and said about a number of men they were working with who typically had an offending background, who probably had issues around worklessness and a range of kind of other issues. And at the same time, it seemed we run the Women's Centre, and they're kind of very similar, you know, women who've got complex lives, difficult issues, but lots of things going on at once. And we do that very much in that way. We look at the whole person, what support they need in the round, and could we not do the same for men as well?
How is it not would be easy to answer, to be honest. Self-worth, confidence, belief, self-value, self-respect, acknowledgement of how good a person I am and can be. Rather than thinking about what I can't do or what isn't possible, I now think about what I can do and what is possible. All of that is positive, and that's down to working with the Shed. I see a bright and successful future myself now, and that wasn't possible until I came here.
In the past I was feeling down, depressed with not having support, and having that contact from the Shed has made me feel more positive from the future. It's opened up new doors and opportunities so I can get into work, see a brighter future as I know I can come to the Shed for support. So definitely uplifted.
So we'll work really closely with the Shed and we'll support, you know, the projects that they're delivering in numerous ways, because they will then progress with the people who they're working with and get them ready for employment. So they're actually helping us develop our next pipeline of construction workers.
So the money raised is going to help us build this physical shed. Although it might not be a shed, it may be in a building. The idea of a man's shed, somewhere they can go to kind of relax and maybe upskill themselves. We're looking to kind of mirror our women's services, so we've got a kind of safe space for our men of the Shed.
Come and meet the Shed and then tell me that you can walk away without supporting it, to be honest. Because what you see there and who you meet there, if that doesn't pull on your heartstrings and make you want to support the Shed, I really don't know what will.
Please support the Shed.
Please support the Shed.
Please support the Shed.
Because people help people. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Adrian Fields and I'm the Shed manager. And today I've brought along one of our Shed members to speak about his journey. So I'm going to ask him a few questions and he'll obviously take you through what's gone on with his journey on the Shed. So, What was going on in your life when you were referred to the shed?
I was in a dark place. I didn't have any purpose. I didn't have any drive. And I just felt like I couldn't do anything in my life that I wanted to do. I was probably at the lowest ebb I've ever been. And I just felt like there was no hope for me.
Okay. And what did the shed do, and what did we do to support you?
The shed gave me the support I needed. There was no support for me to progress and do what I wanted to do. They did a number of things, especially Linda Gillen, who works on the programme. She enabled me to develop a new mindset, a positive mindset, and rather than talk about things that I couldn't do, she enabled me to start looking forward at the things I could do, and that's made a massive impact on how I see my future.
So what's changed for you now?
I'm more positive, I'm more confident, I believe in myself. I now feel like I've learned about what I can do, like I said, rather than what I can't do. And I'm now looking forward to the next stage of my life with positivity, confidence and belief.
Okay. And what would you say to other guys who are thinking about joining the shed?
To anyone who's got the opportunity to join the programme, it's something that I'd definitely recommend. If they use the support correctly, it will massively change their life for the better. It's changed my life for the better now. I'm getting job interviews and I'm close to getting back into work, which is obviously a massive, massive part of why I joined the shed. And not only that, it's now inspired me to try and go on and help other people in the same situation. So if you've got a chance to join the shed, then make sure they join it.
Thank you.
Thanks to Adrian and to everyone involved in the shed. That was brilliant. Now, for our last Slido word cloud for this afternoon. What do you think about our 3 priorities and these projects? So we've got well-being of community, vulnerable women. I'm extremely keen to hear any thoughts on the new social action project that I'm involved in. Emotional. We'll move on. We are grateful that many of you from the private, public and VCSE sectors and from our local communities are already in collaboration with us to help people build better futures. Phil is going to come back now and talk to a few of these people about why they help us to help others.
Thanks, Yasmin. That's a brilliant introduction. Very grateful to our partners who've joined us here today, and I wonder whether we can simply just go along the line and just briefly kind of say who you are. If we start with Becky.
Hi, I'm Becky Bibby. I work for Salford City Council in Children's Services.
Hi, I'm Terry George. I am a volunteer at the shed.
Hi, I'm Catherine Potier and I'm a A&E consultant for the NHS, currently work at North Manchester.
Hi, I'm Katie Simpson and I work for Bupa Insurance.
Great, thank you all. So just a few questions really to explore how and why you work in partnership with us. So Terry, I wonder if we can start with you. Would you just like to say a little bit more about kind of what you do on the shed and other projects with us?
Well, I've been doing voluntary work for around 3 years, on and off. And I've worked on a couple of projects, BDP, Talent Match. Well, last week, this week, I've been working with the Build Salford, and now we're going to be developing the shed. So I'm looking forward to that.
So you clearly put a lot of time, effort and energy into helping people in Salford with us.
Yeah, I have. And you know, there's nothing satisfying than helping people, because as you said, people help people.
Well, I was going to say, why do you do it? I mean, I suppose you're a talented guy. You know, lots of things you could spend your time on. Why do you think volunteering with us is important to you?
Well, the reason why I do it is because of my previous lifestyle. I wanted to give something back to the community. So if I, you know, can help people, yeah, why not?
That's great. Thanks, Terry. And Kathleen, wonder kind of turning to you. I mean, you're very, very busy, A&E consultant, mother, etc. Not a lot of time on your hands. Again, for you, why do you see as being one of our trustees that you want to commit time to the foundation?
Well, health is one part of it all, isn't it? Life, and so the chances that you have in terms of your where you live, the upbringing you have, the opportunities you have in terms of employment has a massive impact on health. So health is crucial in all of this. And currently, where I work, there's massive deprivation, and it's so important that I think we work collaboratively with the health sector, because it's such an important part. And for me, it just aligns with my values, I think, in life, that I have a skill set that I can use out with my paid job, and I'm more than happy to use that in the best way that I can.
Thank you. And are there particular projects or issues that we're working on at the foundation which do that particularly for you and that connect with kind of health and themes that you see as being important?
I'm very interested in the women's project, particularly. I think that around the domestic violence and just providing opportunities for women to again be able to get the best that they can out of their lives, and support, if they have children, their own children, to carry on and not have maybe repeat the same kind of mistakes or life chances, create opportunities for them.
That's great, thank you. And Katie, Bupa have been a real star partner for us in the private sector in the last kind of couple of years. Would you mind saying a bit about what Bupa have done to support the foundation?
Yeah, sure. So Bupa became involved in the Salford Foundation back in early 2020. We have a foundation which is built up of 6 Bupa trustees and 2 independent trustees, and they what their purpose is to help find practical projects to have positive impact on the local community. So I've been involved in volunteering for the Salford Foundation. We've helped with the 30th birthday project. So we help raise money in different ways. We also have kind of monthly meetings with the Salford Foundation of what we can do in terms of volunteering and funding for local projects, i.e. the shed.
That's great, Katie, and clearly for us you've been an exemplar private sector partner. Why do you think it is important for the private sector and companies, big and small, to collaborate with charities like Salford Foundation?
I think because Bupa, we're local, but we're also, commercially quite a big name. So I think what we can do to try and help in terms of health and kind of down that aspect of health and mental health, I think it's a positive pathway for us to go down that route.
Thank you. And coming to Becky, I mean, clearly City Council, the anchor institution in the city, just something about perhaps the breadth of ways that we interact and work with you and your colleagues.
Yeah, I mean, working in children's services, I'm an assistant director for early help in children's services. So I kind of do a lot of that strategic planning as well, but also that kind of operational delivery. And I think strategically, working to co-design what our priorities are for the city, how that aligns to what's going on in organisations, and actually collaborating. So actually we're sharing them priorities. It's just so key to making sure that we're delivering the right services to young people, to our families, and we're doing that in partnership. And operationally, you can see that on the ground. We can't deliver services without collaborating with yourselves, and it's vital that we do it and we do it right, so we can deliver and make sure that young people, families do reach their potential. We've got the same priorities, and we have to achieve that together.
And that's great to hear, Becky. And I suppose, is that how it is for you? It is about complementarity, playing to each other's strengths, what we can do better together.
Yeah, I think it is about that, but actually we're working with the same young people as well. We're delivering to the same families. So, what we don't want to do is duplicate in some ways, but we want families to be able to tell their story once, young people to tell their story once, and actually who's best placed to be doing that. So that collaborative working, aligning our priorities, delivering that together can only be better for families and young people.
Absolutely. That's great to hear. And I wonder, just a broad question to anyone really, or to a few people. There are people probably watching and listening in today who haven't worked with us at all before and perhaps thinking, do we jump in, don't we jump in? But there might be others who perhaps have done just one or two things with us and perhaps have been intrigued and inspired today to think, are there other things they could do as well? Just what would your advice be to people like you, who might well be kind of in the audience, from people perhaps want to volunteer, who could help us kind of strategically, operationally? What would your message be to the audience today?
From my perspective, and I think that you've mentioned it, is we've got a skill set that we use every day at work, and you forget that you can use it outside of your job, and so it doesn't take up much time. We've all got a spare hour, it doesn't have to be loads of your time, but if you can just use some of the skills that you have, you can have a broader reach, can't you? And you can collaborate with other people and, for the best outcomes, I would hope.
I mean, I would just say, I said it before, I think, we want young people, want families to reach their full potential. We can't do that alone. We've got to do it together. And actually, we've all got a different skill set. We've all got, different ways we do things, and actually doing it together is absolutely the right way to do it.
Great. And Terry, I wonder if I could just finish with you. If there's people out there, who have had an interest in life, have had experiences or learnt from that, what do you say to people who perhaps like yourself have got, things to share in terms of them giving back and volunteering?
Well, I would say that, as in Salford itself, as we know through the pandemic, there's been a lot of isolation and people have, there's been mental illnesses and things like this. And we have to encourage people to get back to normal. And by doing this, by volunteering will be such an ideal thing to do. Because as I said, we're a non-profit making organisation. And, the more help that we can get is the more that we can go forward in this time.
Thanks, Terry, and thank you for all the help and support you're giving to individuals through the foundation.
No problem.
Well, it was great to speak to the panel. So I'd like to express my thanks to Becky, to Terry, to Catherine and to Katie. Thank them so much for everything that they do as key supporters of us at the foundation. And I think now I'm just going to hand back to Tom and Yasmin, who are just going to transfer us and give us the link to our very final section. Thank you both.
We're nearly through. Thank you very much, Phil. Finally, we'd like to welcome Liz Potier to the stage. Liz is the chair of our Board of Trustees, a job she has done brilliantly since taking over last year. Liz first joined our board and became a trustee in 2016. She's going to share some concluding thoughts and talk about what you can do to help.
Thank you very much. First of all, can I just say a huge thank you to everyone who has taken part and made today's event possible. My thanks to our City Mayor Paul Dennett, our panellists Becky, Katie, Terry and Catherine, our wonderful event hosts Yasmin and Tom, and the fabulous technical team who have been working tirelessly to make this thing happen. And finally, to all of our staff, volunteers and beneficiaries who have really helped us to understand how we're helping people build better futures and the impact that's having on people's lives. I found our event today hugely inspiring and heartwarming, and a little emotional. I feel very, very proud and honoured to be part of the leadership team here at the foundation. More than anything today, I feel really determined that we'll fully implement the strategy that Phil has outlined earlier, and that we'll strive even harder and dig even deeper to help more people to realise our vision of creating a fairer society in which everyone has the resources and opportunities to reach their full potential. I hope that you feel equally inspired and stirred into action, and I hope that for some of you that share my determination to make this happen, you will kindly hear my asks.
and consider the 4 ways in which you and your organisations that you may be representing while listening could help. Firstly, time. Could you volunteer to help our beneficiaries? We have a wide range of opportunities for those taking just 1 or 2 hours or something more regular. We need people to talk about their work and inspire school students. We need help with interview preparation and job skills. And we need people who can deliver a wide range of ways in the shed and in our Women's Centre. Money. This year we have intentionally been running on a deficit budget in order to meet the range of needs we have outlined this afternoon. We're investing significantly from our own reserves to keep vital services going, but can you help us? From donations to fundraising to corporate sponsorship, there are a wide range in which you can help us top up the pot and keep our great work surviving and thriving. Opportunities. Could you give our beneficiaries access to some of your staff training? Could you provide job shadowing or work experience? If you're recruiting, could you work with us to create shortlists that our beneficiaries can have a first chance at job opportunities? And finally, resources. Are there gifts in kind that you could share to help us fulfil our mission? Use of buildings or facilities, perhaps unspent apprenticeship levy funds, resources to help with the refurbishment of Foundation House. We'd really love to explore what the art of the possible might be with you and your organisation. By now, you will have received a link to an email, via email rather, to a Google form, through which you can give us the feedback about today's event, but also to indicate ways in which you may be able to help us. One of the team will be delighted to get in touch with you and discuss this further. Please fill this out and return as soon as you possibly can. Finally, our vision is big and our mission is vital and challenging. However, we will achieve so much more, help with so many more people to achieve their potential if we build better futures together through genuine partnership and in creative collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Liz.
Thank you all very so much for being with us today and giving us your time. Enjoy the rest of your day and goodbye.
Goodbye.